Hi, everybody. Today I'm going to talk about my worries about retiring in Singapore. I will be retiring very soon, and for the past few months or maybe a year, I have been researching and looking up as to how much one needs to retire, adequately in Singapore. And there are many videos I see out there where it says you need 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, dollars in order to retire. It talks about replacing 80% of your pre-retirement income. And I mean, if that's really the case, then you will need a lot of money. But I have been doing my own analysis, calculations, reflections, and I think, one, you don't need to replace 80% of your pre-retirement income. Actually, you need to replace some amount of your pre-retirement expenses, right? It's not income, but expenses. And now in Singapore, our median salary, right? I think it's 2022 statistics. It's $4,700 per month. Now, this salary includes CPF contributions from employee and I think employer also. So actually, the take-home pay of a person with a median salary in Singapore is about $2,961. Let's say $3,000, right? That's a take-home pay. So such a person, a typical median salary person couldn't be spending more than, $3,000 because that's his take-home salary. Okay, now, let's say we are, 55, we are working, right? We've got so many expenses, right, which won't be there when we retire. Things like work expenses, right? Transport, food, clothing, whatever, right? We spend in order to go to work. And children would have grown up by then. And children do take a lot of one's money, right? Schooling things, holidays, food for children, activities for children, lots of money there. But at 65, you wouldn't have this. We wouldn't have such expenses. Thirdly, maybe mortgage or housing, right? Rental, this kind of payments. Rental will still be there if you still rent, but my assumption here, since this video is for Singaporeans, is that we own our own home, right? 90% of Singaporeans do actually own their own home. So that's the assumption we make, and there will be no more mortgage payments at 65, most likely. You can't have a car, okay? I mean, in my analysis, well, cars are so expensive in Singapore, you will need much more money, right? We're talking about a median person with no car. Insurance, right? At 55 or earlier, you will have to buy insurance, like, in case you go and to protect your family. But at 65, there's no need for quite a lot of this kind of insurance because your children would already be, adults. So maybe there'll be, lower insurance expenses, maybe. Okay, and we might be downsizing our home since, children would have grown up already. We don't need such a big home. That will also mean PUB bills, cleaning, etc., right? Whatever it is to maintain a larger home will be less in retirement. So based on all these things, I don't think, right, we will need $3,000 in retirement. Maybe only $1,500 would give a possible retirement. But in my analysis, I think maybe $2,300. Okay, just to be safe. Now, I'm trying to calm myself down, basically, right? Because of all the stress, when I read everything, it seems you need so much money. But let me share a little bit. My mother is 89 years old this year, and she lives in a 5-room HDB flat that has been fully paid up, and she lives with a helper. Okay? And her monthly expenses cannot be more than $2,600 because that's the amount of money we give her every month. And she doesn't, use her capital or her savings. So it must be, right? It's enough. And we must understand here that in this story that I'm telling you, my mother has a helper. Naturally, in my analysis here, of our minimum decent, retirement, there is no helper, right? If one wants a helper, I think you have to increase it by $1,000 probably. Okay? Now, another thing people like to talk about, when you read and watch all these retirement videos, is there's inflation, right? And you have to account for inflation. True, there is inflation, maybe 2.5%, let us say. But as we grow older, right, we actually spend less. So maybe, 65 to 70, we spend more. We can move around maybe till 75. But by about 80 onwards, we don't travel so much or, do so many things. So in fact, our actual, needs, expenses actually go down, maybe 10, 20%, even though inflation might increase by 2.5% per year. Okay, so like in my mom's example, this $2,600, kind of amount, I think has been, like that for 10 years or more, or even before that, that was more or less, the retirement amount of money. Right? Even when my father was alive, I think for both of them, it's, no more than $3,000. I'm not sure, but I think. But anyway, the current $2,600, definitely I'm sure about that. Okay, so I realize that a good idea for a person, a median income salaried person in Singapore, in order to, to be at peace or be calm, is one, try to put in your full retirement sum into your retirement account at 55 years old. In 2022, that amount for people, born in 1967, who turned 55 this year, is $192,000. Okay? Don't defer this because the retirement account earns 4% per year. So if you're going to top up like next year, you will have to top up including this, potential interest that you would have lost. So if we're able to do this at 55, then at 65, potentially, okay, CPF will give us something like $1,500. Okay, I mean, it's not certain, but that's what the CPF life estimator suggests for a male. Okay, it's about like 1,450 for a female, 1,550, okay, for a male. So let's say $1,500 for until we die, okay? Depending. This is based on their standard draw out, right? They have escalating, they have basic also. You can choose which you want, but in this story where we want to be calm, okay, that we don't need $1 million to retire, decently in Singapore, then it's 1,500. Okay, I've chosen that. So, is that enough? Well, there have been studies that show a single elderly person, right, in one elderly person household can live a basic life in Singapore for about 1,400 and something dollars. Okay? So anyway, we want a little bit of a better life. So I think another idea that I have put into my own life is to try and reach $200,000 in my CPF ordinary account or special account. Okay, special account gets you 4%, so of course that's better. But let's say we can't, okay? On the bad scenario, we don't have anything, let us say, in our special account. So $200,000 in the ordinary account at 65. Okay, so at 55, you don't need to have this amount, and you still have 10 years, right, in order to top up or work and make sure, we have 200,000, okay, in our CPF OA or SA at 65. Based on 2.5% interest, I've calculated that I could withdraw $800 per month for 29 years. So by that time, I'll be 94. Now, their life expectancy in Singapore is like, 85, I think, something like that, okay? So 94 is way beyond that. So that will be enough, right? A decent retirement income, $2,300. Not fantastic, but it is the median amount, right? It means, currently, 50% of adults in Singapore, spend more, and 50% spend less. I mean, it's $3,000, but they have a family, right? So here is retirement. Lots of expenses have been, eradicated, as I shared earlier. So it should be enough, $2,300. And since we have our own HDB flat or our own home, the home can be the inheritance for our children or, our family members. And then, well, that's what I'd like to share. So it's not, okay, is it achievable? Well, I think so, yes, because I checked the statistics. About 50% of Singapore, CPF accounts at 55, about 50% of people have at least 240,000 and above in their CPF accounts. Okay, so it is manageable for most people. Naturally, if you have more money, you can, invest it, right? Everything else. But the basic idea is that having, 192,000 in our retirement account at 55, at this year, I mean, and of course, including 66,000 in our MediSave, will give us, a basic retirement, and we should, try to get 200,000 in our OASA so that we can withdraw, $800 or so every month for at least 29 years. Naturally, if you can do your own investments and get more than 4%, right, then of course you don't need to put 192,000 into your, CPF retirement account. But if you're unable to do this, then this is one way to have a, to not be too worried about retirement. Also, the 200,000 in your OA, it only gets 2.5%. So again, if you have some better, way, getting better returns that, it's safe, or you have more money and you wish to take some risk to get, 6% returns, then of course you will have a much better retirement. Okay, thank you so much. Bye-bye.